Black Lives Matter. That's been the loudest protest chant in the last few years after the deaths of numerous black men and women. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and now Daunte Wright. Their deaths sparked protests all around the country, indeed around the world. The Black Lives Matter movement has inspired people to speak up for a race that has been disproportionately victimized and otherwise harmed by the police. But now, one of the people instrumental in the Black Lives Matter movement is also the subject of a major controversy. Joining me right now for a Black News Tonight exclusive, Patrisse Cullors, the artist, the activist, the abolitionist, and of course the co-founder of Black Lives Matter. Patrisse, welcome. Before we get into the discussion, I do want to get your thought on the recent death of Daunte Wright. I want to continue to center, obviously, the lives and the losses we've had. What do you make of what's happened?
Firstly, I just want to send all of my love and care to Daunte Wright's family. It's painful, it's disturbing. Anything Black Lives Matter Global Network can do for the family, we are here. And I also want to send a lot of love to Adam Toledo's family. Now that the video has been shared, it's all really heartbreaking and incredibly disturbing that we are going through this again and again and again.
Absolutely. So I want to pivot to the reason why you're here. In the last few weeks, there have been stories that have become very prominent in the national media around you, and particularly around issues of spending, issues of income. Specifically, there were two stories that came out that talked about you purchasing homes. You reportedly purchased 4 homes, and we're looking even at another home. I believe in the Bahamas. There were conversations about how you spend money. And the stories also had a lot of innuendo about the source, the relationship between your money and your spending, and and questions around BLM global movements finances. So the first thing I want to do is talk about what's true that has been said and what has been untrue.
I want to start, thank you, Marc. I want to just start by saying something that's really important for people to hear. And that's, I have never taken a salary from the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. And that's important because what the right-wing media is trying to say is the donations that people gave to Black Lives Matter went towards my spending. And that is categorically untrue and incredibly dangerous.
That you use to make whatever purchases you've made have come from outside income. You've mentioned on your IG, and other people have talked about speeches, studio deals, book deals for your book when they call you a terrorist. Your income has not come from working directly with BLM, GM.
That's correct. Yeah. I'm a college professor, first of all. I also am a TV producer, and I have had 2 book deals. My first book that came out was a New York Times bestseller. And I also have had a YouTube deal. And so much of all of my income comes directly from the work that I do. But I also want to say something, Marc, that feels really important. Organizers should get paid for the work that they do. They should get paid a living wage. And the fact that the right-wing media is trying to create hysteria around my spending is frankly racist and sexist. And also, I want to name that many of us who end up investing in homes in the Black community often invest in homes to take care of their family. So homes that I've bought directly support the people that I love and that I care about. I'm not renting them out in some Airbnb operation. And you could speak to so many other Black people and Black women particularly that take care of their families, take care of their loved ones, especially when they're in a position to.
That's an important point because, again, when we look at the New York Post cover, the first thing they say is that you went on a spending binge, right? Which is itself a kind of coded language. They say that you have these homes in California, there's a home in Atlanta, and that you were considering a home in a neighborhood where Tiger Woods was looking, or some other famous celebrity. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying the 4 homes are true. It's true that you have those homes, but you're using them to support other family and people you care about.
That's exactly right. And I just want to make it really clear. I haven't been to the Bahamas since I was 15 years old on a dance trip when I danced on the Big Red Boat. So I don't know where that lie came from.
There's also a question, because you're right. The right-wing media has made certain critiques of you that you're spending and you're buying, and there's an argument to be made that this is absolutely about misogynoir. They don't want black women to have anything. There's also a critique, though, from the left that would say, if you are a trained Marxist, if we're talking about a certain kind of radical politic, that extravagant homes of any sort or multiple properties of any sort is itself contradictory to the ideology that you hold. And so it's not about having money per se, but that it's about, or about property per se, but it's about there being a potential contradiction between your expressed politics and your lived practice.
Sure. And I think that is a critique that is wanting. And I say that because the way that I live my life is in direct support to Black people, including my Black family members, first and foremost. And for so many Black folks who are able to invest in themselves and their community, they choose to invest in their family. And that's what I've chosen to do. I have a child, I have a brother that has severe mental illness that I take care of. I support my mother, and I support many other family members of mine. And so I see my money as not my own. I see it as my family's money as well. And I want to also speak to Black Lives Matter and the money that we didn't necessarily raise, money that was given to us last summer. Marc, the minute we started to receive funding, I looked at my team and I said, we have to get these dollars out the door. Now that Black Lives Matter has money, we have to be a grant-making body as well as a think tank, act tank, and an amplifier. And so, so much of the work that BLM specifically has done has been reinvesting into Black communities. We launched a survival fund where we gave nearly $3 million to 1,000 Black folks across the country. We have committed to $27 million to Black-led organizations, not just our chapters, across the country. That is like a quarter of our budget is going back into the community. And then also, we have to build an organization. It's the first time we've ever had real dollars, and we have to build a Black institution that can challenge policing, that can take care of Black communities. The whole point of these articles and these recent attacks against me are to discredit me, but also to discredit the movement. And we have to stay focused. We have to stay focused on white supremacy. I am not a white supremacist. I am not a tech billionaire. I am not the Catholic Church acquiring land everywhere. I am a single Black woman who is supporting my family and supporting my community. And I want to continue to do that. And I need to be able to do that. And I need people to see through the lies.
You've talked about funding and receiving funding and how the money's being distributed. And we're going to go there, because for every right-wing criticism there is of BLM and of you, there are also criticisms from within the movement that we also want to take seriously, that I am going to bring up after the break. But before we get there, I want to talk about you. Because when you look on the cover of the New York Post, or you look on the internet, and people are posting these homes and people are showing where you live, they're not just making you a site of critique, they're also making you a target. In real life, people can find you. How do you make sense of that piece of it? What some would call, and I think you even called it, doxing.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. I've spent the last week with security and Yeah, these articles have shown the homes that I live in and that my family lives in, and everybody's been like, "Well, is there an address?" But you don't need an address because you can reverse image the images and pull up my address. And so I've not just been a target of the right and white supremacist in this moment, but obviously since the beginning of when I started Black Lives Matter, I've been a target. And these folks have created a much dangerous situation for me and my family. It's very serious.
Wow. And do you see this as largely coming from the right, or do you think this is coming from other elements as well?
I think there are, as you said, there are some grounded critiques of me and BLM, and I take those grounded critiques very seriously. And then there's some critiques, even if it's not from the right, grounded in more white supremacy and misogynoir. And that's just where we live right now. It's hard building movements. It's hard building Black-led institutions. We are doing something that many people haven't done, Black women at the forefront. That is hard to comprehend. That's hard to understand. But I promise you that what I have done, with what other BLM leaders have done in the organization, and what we're trying to do is get Black people free. That's what we're trying to do. And we're going to make mistakes. We're going to stumble. But I need the community. We need the community to lift us up so that we can be accountable in a principled way, in an honest way, and most importantly, in a loving way. What's happening to me is so not loving, but I'm not the only one this has happened to. We have seen this happen to women of color time and time again. We've seen so many women of color be at the um, mercy of our movements that we build and also the right wing. Where do women of color get to go when we make honest mistakes? We need often more help, and we are not getting it. And so I just feel like now is the time that we band together. Now is the time that we see through right wing lies. And also now is the time that we figure out how we hold conflict, how we hold principled struggle. Because I'm not a person that's interested in being, um, all praise or all praise Patrisse or all praise BLM. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in evolving and growing. And the only way we do that is through conflict that's generative, not conflict that further harms or makes it dangerous for people to live in their own homes.